Hello and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to our virtual classroom. Today, we are going to be going over an assignment, or actually a few examples having to do with expressions, mathematical expressions, with looking at a situation written in English, at a situation and translating that situation into a mathematical expression and then evaluating that expression. What do I mean by any of that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's consider number one here in this example. Let's consider number one here in this example. So we can see here that we need to write on algebraic expressions. Okay, so we look at number one. Let's look at number one. Okay, so it says a t-shirt costs $5.99. Okay, so a t-shirt costs $5.99. Okay, so I guess you go to the store, you buy a t-shirt, it's $5.99. If you buy two t-shirts, it's going to be that times two, etc. So 5A says, how much will you spend if you buy X t-shirts? In other words, how much will you buy? How much will you spend if you buy one t-shirt, two t-shirts, three t-shirts? So we want to find an expression that reflects that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what are we doing here? You know, if we're buying each shirt at $5.99, if you notice, we're doing the same thing over and over again. So what operation will that be? Well, let's look at our answer choices. Let us look at our answer choices on Schoology. So again, each shirt costs $5.99. So is it going to be $5.99 plus the number of shirts? I'm not sure. Because when you go to the store, you don't do $5.99 and then plus one, so two shirts is $6.99 plus another one would be $7. No, that doesn't work. It would be $5.99, $5.99, $5.99. It would be the same thing multiple times. So it seems to me that we're doing multiplication. So which of these operations, which of these expressions is showing us that we're doing $5.99 multiple times? And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the only one that makes sense is D. We would take the number of t-shirts and multiply that by $5.99. So that is the expression that we are going to be using. So that would be the answer for this one, right? All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at letter B. 1B says, okay, let's evaluate that expression, 599x, if we buy 4 shirts or if we buy 10 shirts. So we can see here in letter B. Okay, so let's see if we buy 4 shirts. So we do $5.99. X, that is our expression. But again, we know the number of shirts. We're going to use 4 shirts. So in other words, we're going to substitute the X. We're going to replace the X with a 4. So that means that we have $5.99 times 4, because that's multiplication, right? So let's go ahead and work that out. $5.99 times 4. So 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36, 37, 38, 39. And 4 times 5 is 20 plus 3 is 23. So we have 2 decimal places. So we have $23.96. So we have, so I would just type in 23.96. Okay, well, what about 10 shirts? 10 shirts. We're going to use the same expression, but we're going to evaluate it when X is not 4, but rather when X is 10. In other words, I just have to multiply this by 10. And since I'm just multiplying by 10, I'm just going to move the decimal over one time. So that would be $59.90. So as you can see, guys, all I'm doing is I'm taking the expression that represents that situation and then substituting the letter with the number that it's asking me to use. So in this case, it was 4 and 10. Let's do another example. Okay, let's move on to number 2A. Number 2A says you have 7 folders and you want to put the same number of pages in each folder. Okay, so again, we have 7 folders and we want the same number of pages in each folder. So we're doing the same thing each time, but rather we're separating the pages, which we don't know the number of pages, but we're separating it into 7 folders and each one has the same number. Guys, what operation is that? Clearly that is division. I'm dividing the pages into 7 folders and each one's going to have the same number. That's why it is division. So when I look at my answer choices, which of those answer choices is showing that situation that we're taking our pages and separating them into 7 equal folders. Well, if you notice, there's only 2 that are showing division. So it's not going to be A and it's not going to be C. But what is it that we're doing? Are we dividing the 7 folders into the number of pages? Or are we dividing the pages into each of the 7 folders? Clearly, guys, the answer is B. We're going to take the pages and divide them into each of the 7 folders equally. All right, well, if that's the case, now that we know that, we're going to use that expression. Let's look at 2B. So in 2B, 1 second, we see, well, how many pages per folder will we have for 147 pages? How many pages per folder we're going to have for 245 pages? And again, that information was from here. Evaluate your expression to calculate the number of pages in each folder if you have 147 pages or 245 pages. All right, so let's just replace the variable. Let's do that right here, actually. So we have 147 pages, so let's go ahead and do 147. And let's divide that into 7. And then we have 245, so we're going to do 245 and divide that into 7. So let's work each of these out. Let's start with 147. 147 divided by 7. So 7 goes into 14 twice exactly. And 7 goes into 7 once exactly. So that would be 21 pages per folder. And in 245, let me do a different color. In 245, we do 245 divided by 7. Well, 7 goes into 24 3 times. It's going to be 21 with a remainder of 3. And it goes into 35 exactly 5 times, so that's 35. So that's going to be 35 pages per folder if there's 245 pages. So again, notice that we are just finding which expression we can use for that situation, and we're applying that expression to each of the 2 situations in the next part. All right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to make this video too long, but hopefully that gives you some understanding of how to do the first few problems here in this assignment. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next time.